So SDS just gave us the gameplay stream for MLB The Show 23, and there is a lot to talk about. Alright, so the first thing that we got is fielding. One of my biggest complaints when it came to fielding was that it was just super easy. You were able to make every throw you could. So now they said that in MLB The Show 23, it's going to be more difficult. They first went off about their spiel about how bad fielders will be bad and good fielders will be good. But after they talked about that, they talked about the throw accuracy meter. Now, I think it's safe to say that most people, when it came to the throw accuracy meter, was really good at it. You could throw it and have probably one error every couple of games if you're really good at it. Sometimes almost never getting any errors. So to combat it, they decided that the sweet spot, which is the green spot, will now move depending on whether the throw is easy or difficult. If you're making a more difficult throw from, let's say, the hole of an infield or from like turning around in the outfield, then that green spot will move much further, making it more difficult to actually get your throw off exactly how you want it. This first thing is a massive W in my books because you don't want the game to be so easy that there is no differential, there is no skill gap. You want there to be the people who are really good at it to be really good at it, and I'm happy that they decided to do it. Now, when it comes to fielding, there are two different things that determine specific things. When it comes to the sweet spot, your throw accuracy will determine how big that green zone is. So if you're using somebody like they showed like Nick Castellanos, where his throw accuracy probably isn't the best, and you're running towards a ball like in the gap or in the corner, and then you're going to have to try to make a throw, not only will the thing move, but it will be much smaller than if you were using somebody like, let's say, Mike Trout or Aaron Judge. The other big thing when it comes to fielding is now the first baseman's fielding will be much more important just in case you end up throwing into the yellow zone. If you throw it into the yellow zone, the first baseman will have a much better chance of picking the ball if their fielding attribute is much higher. Next up, let's talk about the quirks. In this game, they're giving us 4 brand new quirks. First, we have the pickoff artist, which gives you a higher success rate of doing pickoffs. Then we have table setter, which makes your player perform better if there are no men on base. The break outlier, which lowers the loss of the pitcher's pitches as they get deeper into the game. So if you're still using your pitcher in the 7th, 8th, or 9th inning, and they happen to have this quirk, then there will be a less chance of their pitches breaking less. And then we have the bad ball hitter, which for players like Vladimir Guerrero will help because they just like to swing at literally anything and everything and always found ways of getting base hits off of them. The other news when it comes to the quirks is that the passive quirks are now gone. You will not see any passive quirks in this game. And I gotta say, I never really knew how the passive ones work, so it doesn't really bother me. Another attribute that's getting a little bit of a change is clutch. Clutch will now either boost or decrease your contact or your pitcher's hit per nines, depending on the clutch attribute. This all happens with runners in scoring position, and they made a mention of like potentially it being happening later in the games, but they really didn't show too much on that, so I'm not 100% certain on that. But the way that it works is, let's say that you're using a batter with 45 contact versus whatever side, but their clutch is 70 to 80. That means that their contact will change to that clutch number, which will help increase your odds of being able to obviously put bat on the ball. These players that may not have the highest contact but a lot of clutch will become a lot more usable, especially in pinch hit opportunities with runners in scoring position. And of course, vice versa with pitchers where their hits per 9, if they don't have the best hits per 9 but have a shit ton of clutch, well, they'll become much better as well. Another small thing that they added was StatCast. It shows things like the chase rate or the 2-strike chase rate, swing percentage, contact percentage, your whiff percentage, stuff like that. One thing that they didn't show, which I hope is a thing, is where you can kind of see like how often you're throwing all your different pitches. I doubt it'll be there, but it would still be a nice thing to have. While we're talking about the StatCast and since it shows up on screen, I did want to mention how the score bug looks different now, and I like the way that it looks a lot better in this game compared to the past game. Next up, we're going to be talking about the swing analysis. As we know in MLB The Show 22, the swing analysis we didn't really get to see until after the outcome of the play happened. Whether it was a foul ball, a hit, a home run, whatever it was, we didn't get to see how everything worked until the next pitch was being ready to be chosen. Now, once you swing, it will show up immediately, which I think is a great thing. And there's better things when it comes to the swing analysis as well. The new PCI placement definitely looks a lot more clean and, a lot easier to understand everything. The only gripe that I would have with it is that I don't think it changes depending on what your PCI personally is. If they were to update that in, let's say, either later in the game or for MLB The Show 24, that's the bigger thing that I would want, but that's only like a small gripe. And then they added exit velocity and launch angle. They were saying that you could see exactly how it looks and see and feels on like Baseball Savant. So that's another nice thing that they added, so you can get the full picture and get all the information that you would probably want out of all your swing analysis. Next up, we're going to be talking about hitting itself. And to talk about hitting, we're going to talk about how the gameplay styles, casual and simulation, really didn't get too many changes, but competitive did. Like in the previous year or two when the casual, simulation, and competitive modes were all introduced, competitive will be the way that the online works, and then offline you can choose whichever one that you specifically want to use. But for competitive, they mentioned that their hope is that there will be less foul balls and more swing and misses. And the way that this will happen is that your players on competitive will have a 50% decrease in your plate vision online compared to offline and using the other modes. So just like how they showed it, somebody with 62 vision when they're playing on casual will look a hell of a lot different than somebody who has 62 vision when they're playing on competitive. And the last two things that we're going to be talking about are the rule changes and ranked co-op. So they mentioned that the shift will coincide exactly how MLB has it. 2 players on each side of second base and nobody in the outfield. They don't know exactly how everybody's going to use it when it comes to the actual game, so they said that they will adjust if necessary. They also mentioned that while the bigger bases and the pickoff rule are also going to be implemented, they will not be in the game, where they said that the bigger bases they didn't really kind of talk about. But the pickoff one is just because they don't want people to abuse it and make the online games just a living hell. But the biggest rule change that is coming to Diamond Dynasty itself is we are getting the universal DH. So now instead of your pitcher having to bat, you can put whoever you want in the DH. And yes, I mean whoever, because they fully implemented the 2A players as well. So somebody like a Shohei Ohtani can be put into your rotation and DH at the same time, or you can put them in whatever their secondary position is, like let's use Shohei Ohtani again as an example, left, center, or right. That way they're in your batting, so that way they are in your batting order and not in the line. So that way they are in your lineup and not in the rotation, or you can just put them in the rotation and not in your lineup at all. They give you the full freedom to do whatever you want with that. And then, of course, like I said, the last thing that we're going to talk about is co-op. Co-op will now be ranked, and you will get rewards for playing co-op. They said that you could play with your friends, but it'll be interesting to see how well or bad it'll go if you're able to do it just with random people online, and we'll see how well that goes. But that is about everything that they talked about in the new gameplay premiere. The last thing that we really got to talk about is that the tech test will start today at 10 o'clock Pacific or 1 o'clock Eastern. So we will be able to use just about everything that's in this stream. You can already pre-download it on the Nintendo Switch or any of your Xbox systems. Hopefully by the time this video comes out, you'll be able to download it on PlayStation. But as of recording this, they haven't done that yet. So hopefully we will be able to do that. But that's going to do it for me today. There is a lot here that I am very excited about. I just hope that it all works. and everything just goes smoothly. If it all does, then I think that this game will have probably the best gameplay of any MLB The Show. But again, that's just hoping that it all actually does. Just one last thing before I end off the video. If anybody is curious, I will be streaming a little bit of the tech test tomorrow. So if you want to hop over, say hi, or just watch my perspective of things, feel free. Otherwise, I'll probably just record stuff for the tech test and kind of give my thoughts after it's all said and done. But that's going to be it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, everyone.